Rohan was a boy with simple dreams. He lived in a small town where everyone knew each other. His father was a clerk at the local post office, and his mother was a homemaker who stitched clothes to earn a little extra money. They were not rich, but they were full of love and hope for their only son. Rohan was in class 12, the final year of school. This year was very important for him and his family. He studied hard, often late into the night. The single tube light in their small living room would burn until midnight as Rohan pored over his textbooks. He wanted to score well not just for himself, but for his parents. He imagined their proud faces when he would get admission into a good engineering college in the city. The board exams were a great festival of stress. Every relative who visited, every neighbor who met his parents in the market asked the same question: how is Rohan's preparation going? The pressure was immense, like a heavy stone placed on his young shoulders. His father would often say, "Son, this one exam will decide your whole life. Work hard now, and you can relax later." Rohan believed him. He sacrificed his love for cricket, his evening chats with friends, and even his favorite television shows. His life revolved around a single goal: to pass class 12 with flying colors and make his parents' sacrifices worthwhile. He was a good student, not brilliant, but hardworking. He was confident that his efforts would pay off. The day the exams ended, Rohan felt a sense of great relief. It was as if the heavy stone had been lifted from his shoulders. He started dreaming of college life, of new friends, and a future where he could buy a bigger house for his parents. He helped his mother in the kitchen and his father in the garden. He started smiling more. The days leading up to the results were filled with a nervous excitement. He and his friends would gather at the local tea stall and discuss which colleges they would apply to. They made grand plans for their future, plans that seemed so close, almost within their grasp. Life felt full of promise and endless possibilities. On the day of the results, Rohan woke up early. He went to the temple with his mother and prayed to God for a good outcome. His heart was beating fast, a mix of hope and fear churning inside him. He remembered his father's words, his mother's silent prayers, and all the long nights he had spent studying. He walked to the small internet cafe in the market, the only one in his town. His hands were trembling as he typed his roll number on the keyboard. He truly believed that this single click would open the door to all his dreams. He was not prepared for what was about to happen next. He was just a young boy full of hope, standing at what he thought was the threshold of success. The screen loaded slowly. For a moment, Rohan's heart stopped. He saw the mark sheet, but the letters were blurry because of the tears welling up in his eyes. He had failed. Not by a lot, but he had failed in mathematics, the one subject he feared the most. The word fail in bold red letters seemed to mock him. It felt like the world had collapsed around him. The noise of the cafe, the whirring of the fans, everything faded away. All he could see was that one word. He felt a deep sense of shame and disappointment. He had let everyone down. He had let himself down. The walk back home was the longest walk of his life. Every step felt heavy, as if he were dragging chains. When he reached home, his parents were waiting anxiously in the veranda. They saw his face and knew immediately. His mother's hopeful smile vanished, replaced by a look of disbelief and pain. His father, who was usually so strong, just stood there silently, his face a mask of disappointment. No one said a word. The silence in the house was heavier than any scolding could have been. Rohan went to his room and locked the door. He could hear his mother crying softly in the next room. He felt like a failure, a burden to his family. The dreams he had so carefully built over the years had shattered into a million tiny pieces in a single moment. The news spread through the small town like wildfire. Neighbors who had once praised his hard work now whispered behind his back. Some looked at him with pity, which felt worse than anger. His relatives called, not to console, but to express their disappointment. "We had such high hopes for him," one aunt said to his mother over the phone, her voice dripping with false sympathy. Rohan felt isolated and alone. He stopped leaving his room, afraid to face the world, afraid to see the judgment in people's eyes. The boy who was once full of life and laughter was now a shadow of his former self, lost in a sea of guilt and sadness. His friends' reactions were mixed. Some of his closest friends who had passed came to meet him. They tried to cheer him up, but their talk of college admissions and future plans only made him feel worse. He felt a gap forming between them. They were moving on with their lives while he was stuck behind. A few other friends, who were perhaps jealous of him before, now avoided him completely. They would cross the street if they saw him coming. This betrayal hurt him more than the failure itself. He learned a hard lesson that day. Success has many friends, but failure is often a lonely journey. He felt completely and utterly alone in his misery. A few days passed in a blur of sadness. Rohan refused to eat or talk to anyone. His parents were worried, but they did not know how to help him. One evening, his father came into his room. He did not scold him. He simply sat beside him on the bed and put a hand on his shoulder. "I was also disappointed, son," he said softly, "but not in you. I was disappointed because I put too much pressure on you. This exam is not the end of your life. It is just a page in a very long book. You are my son, and I am proud of you for your hard work, not for your marks." Those simple words were like a balm on Rohan's wounded heart. For the first time in days, he cried openly, and his father held him. The next day, one of his true friends, Samir, came to visit. Samir had also passed, but he did not talk about his own success. Instead, he brought Rohan's favorite snacks and a cricket bat. "Let's go play," he said with a smile. "You have been locked in this room for too long." Rohan refused at first, but Samir insisted. They went to the old playground where they had spent their childhood. As Rohan hit the ball with the bat, he felt some of his frustration and anger melt away. Samir did not offer any advice. He just stayed with him, a silent pillar of support. This simple act of friendship showed Rohan that he was not completely alone. A turning point came from an unexpected person. Mr. Sharma, a retired school teacher who lived down the street, called Rohan to his house. Mr. Sharma was known for his wisdom and kindness. He made Rohan a cup of tea and shared his own story. "Did you know I failed my university entrance exam the first time?" he asked. Rohan looked up in surprise. "Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of it," Mr. Sharma continued. "It teaches you lessons that success never can. It teaches you humility, strength, and the importance of trying again. What matters is not that you fell, but that you have the courage to get up." These words of wisdom, coming from a respected elder, had a profound impact on Rohan. He started to see his situation in a new light. He realized that he had been so focused on the result that he had forgotten the joy of learning. Mr. Sharma offered to help him with mathematics, the subject he had failed. He told Rohan that true education is not about passing exams, but about understanding the world and oneself. The kindness from his father, the loyalty of his friend, and the wisdom of his teacher slowly began to heal Rohan's spirit. He started to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was not the end of his story. With newfound determination, Rohan decided to try again. He knew the path would be difficult. He would have to study the same books for another year while his friends moved on to college. But this time, his motivation was different. He was not studying out of fear or pressure. He was studying for himself, for the love of learning. He made a new timetable. He gave more time to mathematics, practicing every day with Mr. Sharma's guidance. He discovered that when he studied without the fear of failure, he actually started to understand the concepts better. He even found a certain beauty in the logic of numbers that he had never seen before. He did not isolate himself this time. He continued to play cricket with Samir in the evenings. He helped his mother with her work and talked to his father about his day. His family, seeing the positive change in him, supported him wholeheartedly. His mother would make sure he had a quiet corner to study, and his father would often bring him a glass of milk at night, patting his back and saying, "I am proud of your effort, son." The whispers in the neighborhood did not bother him anymore. He had learned to measure his worth not by the opinions of others, but by his own perseverance and character. He was happier and more at peace with himself. A year later, Rohan appeared for the Class 12 exams again. He was calm and confident. He walked into the examination hall not as a boy afraid of failing, but as a young man who had already conquered his fear. He wrote his papers with a clear mind. When the results came, he had not only passed, but had scored a distinction in mathematics. His joy was immense, but it was a quiet, mature joy. He had learned that success felt sweetest after one has tasted failure. His parents were overjoyed, their eyes filled with tears of pride. But this time, they were proud not just of his marks, but of the strong and resilient person he had become. Rohan got admission into a good engineering college. His life was back on track, but he was a changed person. He had learned that life is not a straight line. It has ups and downs, successes and failures. He understood that failing an exam is not failing in life. It is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become stronger. His experience taught him the most important lesson of all, that true victory lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. It is a reminder to all of us that when life gives you lemons, you can learn to make the most wonderful lemonade. Never give up on your dreams.